That was like the
I'm trying
first
to
thing.
find my Switch app on the phone so I can interact with all these lovely people.
So, obviously there's no one in here yet, Mags, but so we'll just ganter about fucking Retribution for a little while people come in, because
It's
we'll just
so good. It's
it's
so good.
it's so good on, like, we were just chatting before. For anyone that's watching this, the VOD or this on YouTube, me and Mags were having like a 5-minute conversation before about just how good Retribution are on Twitter, and just like their tweet, especially T-Bar. They all have their kind of individuality on there, but T-Bar especially is just going after wrestling journalists that are like known pieces of crap. Not all of them, just some of them. But he's going out of his way to like find them that have wrote Retribution, not tagging anyone, and he's going out of his way. The stuff with Jericho's been really good. They're so, I said this to Mags before, but they're so self-aware, and it makes me laugh. Like, I'm just like, I'm waiting, like, I refresh Twitter, and I'm like, what's Mace gonna say now? What's T-Bar gonna say now? What's Slapjack gonna say now? Usually if I say the word Slapjack, I don't necessarily know that I should be saying that on Twitter, but I might be on the wrong platform here. Like, am I on the wrong website? But I mean, the names are bad, and a lot of the stuff that's been on television hasn't been like the best with Retribution, but they're trying to turn chicken salad out of chicken shit, whatever the fucking saying is. It's late here, so I'm a bit tired. But Mags, you were saying that you've been enjoying it too, especially that Jericho. He just kind of ended Jericho, didn't he?
It's not often that you see someone who can put Jericho in his place, but wow, T-Bar nailed it. For me, this Retribution has been like a massive roller coaster. I was really hyped for it. I thought it was something new and fresh when they first came in. Then it kind of got a bit corny when they were attacking the PC and then only attacking on Raw. And then they came back with the wrestlers that I knew from NXT, and we kind of again confirmed who was in it. So I was getting more excited again. And then they came out with Bane cosplay and stupid names and the worst scripted promos ever on Raw. And I was like, this is going down like a fart in church. And then you heard the reports that everybody backstage was laughing at him, basically saying they've been saddled with one of the worst gimmicks ever and they're going to struggle. And then they played the Twitter game, and I am back invested. These guys are kicking ass all over Twitter. I love the fact that T-Bar's absolutely just rinsing everyone. Mace is just absolutely superb. The fact that Shane Thorne got lumbered with the name Slapjack and he's still able to make it work is brilliant. But I think that the low-key best for me is Mia Yim. And now you know how much of a mark for Mia Yim I am. But the fact she's keeping up two Twitter accounts, 2 characters, and totally not even like acknowledging the other ones.
Yep.
It's brilliant play.
So
absolutely
good.
Brilliant. I love it. All of it.
What's her name? Reckoning or something like that, is it?
Reckoning, yeah, I think so.
Reckoning. And I that's something I noticed about Mia Yim as well, Mags, is that she's Mia Yim. She has a Mia Yim Twitter account where she's streaming and she's, just being Mia Yim. And then there's this one where we all know it's Mia Yim, but it's kind of like alter egos that she's like not acknowledging the other's existence. I kind of dig that, because I was watching Mia Yim on Twitch today, just playing something. I don't know what she was playing, Grand Theft Auto or something like that. And she's just Mia Yim, being herself. And then, on Twitter, she is really witty. She's always been witty. Mm-hmm. With like stuff, she's always been very like quick on Twitter, but like her stuff as Reckoning is quite good as well, because she's just like, people are just writing some dumb shit that they always write. People always write dumb shit to people on Twitter, and she's just quote tweeting him and just shutting them down. It's real good. Also, hello Mad Dog, welcome in. We are. I think that, like I said, they're very self-aware that this angle could go down very fast, and I think that's where we're kind of treading, but they're trying to be like, no, let's keep this alive. Let's try and make something out of this. It's been what? Retribution's been going on. Well, not Retribution in its current form, but this has been going on for what, 2 months? It's been a
Yeah.
while, so it's like that's a long time to kind of just throw something out.
In today's wrestling, it is. It's
Yeah.
today's WWE, should I say? Um, and I think it's the mark of a great wrestler, a great all round wrestler. If you can not only be good in the ring, and we know these guys are good in the ring,
Oh
but if
yeah.
you can take a god awful gimmick and make it work, you're a star. You absolutely are a
Mm.
star. It takes someone very special to be able to have a gimmick this poor and get it over. So
Uh,
props to him. Absolutely props to him. It's brilliant.
especially Mags coming off a Raw, when everyone was
Mhm.
just kind of like, "What in the fuck is going on with this?" And even myself, who how I am with WWE, but like even myself, I was like, I wouldn't be mad if it was that WWE thing just to be like, we've forgotten about this. Next week it was just over. But in this last 6 days or 5 days on Twitter, with all of them coming out on Twitter, I'm just like, all right, I'm fine with it. Even if it's kind of a bit, well, I don't know exactly the word I would use to describe Retribution on television. I guess it would be kind of cheesy. Would cheesy be the right
Yeah,
word to describe?
especially now with the Bane masks. The Bane
Yeah.
masks are just awful, but it's fun
Eh.
to watch, and
Yeah, I
wrestling
like
should be
train
fun.
wrecks. Yeah, I like train wrecks, to be
Mhm.
completely honest. I'm just like, let's just make it sillier, make it cheesier. It's something to laugh at, to be completely honest. But I don't know exactly where this angle's going. I'm sure we'll find out more over the next month or so. I would assume, Mags, that Survivor Series is the next big show. I would assume it would be some kind of Retribution
Mhm.
versus Team WWE crap, to kind of extinguish
Maybe.
Retribution. That's how I would see it going, but who honestly really really knows. It's interesting though,
I
to a certain
think
degree.
I think we could head towards Retribution versus the Hurt Business. To be fair,
Well, that too. Hurt Business. Before we go into predictions, let's talk about the Hurt Business, because they've been treading water for a little while, and then the acquisition of Cedric Alexander. And to be honest, MVP has kind of single handedly rejuvenated the careers of all three, really, when you think about it, because Bobby
yeah,
Lashley was kind of
yeah,
not doing a lot. Shelton Benjamin was doing nothing, and Cedric was just kind of
it was in catering.
floating.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
yes, there was a period where everyone thought Cedric was going to be the next big thing, and Vince did what Vince does and kind of like sours on someone, and he ended up being like just at the bottom of the card. So MVP has to be this year's MVP because he's revived three flagging careers in WWE. His work with before the kind of whole Hurt Business thing took off, his work with Bobby Lashley was brilliant, and it was. I remember saying on this very show how he got me reinvested in Bobby Lashley,
Mm,
someone who I've never really been that concerned with.
yeah,
But yeah, I think that this whole faction thing is right in my wheelhouse. It's from
yeah.
the Attitude Era with the likes of DOA and the corporate ministry and Nation of Domination. I love all that stuff, and this is kind of like a throwback to that. Yeah, it's really good work.
I'm not a faction guy. I never really have been. I'm not saying that I dislike factions. It's just not. I think it takes a really good faction for me to be like, ooh, like I'm completely all in on this. Apart from the big stuff, I
Mhm.
know I'm wearing an NWO shirt right now, but that's a little bit different. But it's more so. I think what I mean is I don't like an oversaturation of factions, because there is a point where there's too many and it's too similar. Because I feel like with factions, there's kind of, I don't want to say there's a certain ceiling I think you can get with factions, and then it's just kind of you doing the same stuff, just in, different ways. You just, presenting it in slightly different ways. But I guess that's wrestling to a certain degree. But the Hurt Business has been really good, and it's something that I didn't think I would like, and now I'm just like, whoa, okay, this is really working. Not only that, what are we in the 10th, the 9th month, nearly the 10th month of the year? Back at the start of the year when MVP came out at the Royal Rumble and then had a match with Rey Mysterio the next night on Raw, and then was like, I'm retired now, I just wanted to end this. And then
Yep.
all of a sudden he's wrestling every week, he's leading a faction, and kind of just, they're kind of like low key, they're kind of one of my favorite parts of Raw. They're kind of
Hmm.
one of my
Yeah.
favorite parts of the whole company at the moment, just with in terms of relevancy and just how interesting they are, because it doesn't feel like anything that's been done before, but it does at the same time. It's like floating that line in between. I can't really explain why I really enjoy it, or why everyone kind of
And
seems to be enjoying it too. Everyone is
and
kind of.
I think it stands out even more on Raw because a lot of the stuff going on Raw is so trash. It's so something with a little bit of interest. It'll like elevate it that a little bit more when everything you're up against on the same show is kind of weak.
Mm.
You're gonna look like the most interesting story.
Yeah, it's a complete 180 of how we talked about going into what was the last pay-per-view, SummerSlam, or Payback, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But that we were talking about how
Payback
SmackDown
the week after SummerSlam.
SmackDown wasn't great this time last month, and like a month later, it's the roles are reversed, and SmackDown is like killing it. I've watched the last couple of SmackDowns live, and I'm like, this is a really interesting show. Pretty much everything on there, I'm pretty much loving, and then Raw's kind of. I'm not saying I'm disliking Raw because I've always kind of, it's just dragging in a lot of areas. There's more to dislike than to like on Raw, and the opposite on SmackDown. So, we'll talk about SmackDown again soon. It's interesting though. Let's talk about the kickoff match that's going down. We'll start off with that, seeing as it's on the kickoff for some reason. Asuka is on the kickoff now. At SummerSlam a month ago, she was in 2 title matches. Arguably, the 2, probably most hype matches of the show. Arguably, there was, there's room for argument there. But she was in 2 title matches, and she won the Raw Women's Championship back after a multiple month-long feud with both Bayley and Sasha Banks. And now she's on the kickoff. Now, I know a lot of people are like, yeah, the kickoff, like, oh my god, like they shouldn't be on the kickoff and all of that. To me, I don't know. There's negatives and positives to it. I am in the kind of mindset that the kickoff is just a part of the show now anyway. I mean, I'm going to start watching the pay-per-view at the kickoff time. That's when my kind of pay-per-view day starts. For me, I know I'm probably a little bit different, but there's probably an argument that more eyes are on the kickoff than the actual show because, I mean, you don't have to pay for the kickoff. You can watch that shit on Facebook. You can watch that shit here on Twitch. You can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on Twitter. You can literally just click on it and watch it when the network you have to pay for it if you're going to buy it on pay-per-view. So is there an argument really that, is it just the stigma of that pre-show name that people get annoyed about? Because personally, it doesn't really make a difference to me, personally.
No, I'm coming from someone who watches UFC, so I get the point of the pre-show. It's to make you want to purchase the full show, the pay-per-view, and you put on decent matches to kind of entice people in to think, well, if this match they're giving this away for free, what the hell is going to be on the pay-per-view? We get that in the UFC. You get relatively big names in the pre-show for you to go and purchase the full pay-per-view. Now, on the other side of the coin, should Asuka, who has been the star of the COVID era by a long shot, it's not even close, should she be on the pre-show? Absolutely not. The fact that she's probably arguably the best women's wrestler on the main roster definitely should be on the pre-show. But this match should be a pre-show match because the build is not there. It's Zelina Vega's first ever title shot. You're obviously salty as fuck because Mickie James should have had the shot, which I kind of agree. But I also wouldn't want Mickie James to be losing to Asuka. So I understand why he's on the pre-show. It's going to give Zelina Vega a chance to shine, a first ever title shot in WWE. The kind of breakaway from Andrade and Garza has kind of helped her flourish as a single star. The slap that she gave to Asuka when she interfered in the match against Peyton Royce. It should be a good way to kind of kick off the show. Hence, it's on the kickoff.
Mags. Yeah, all right. You brought up Mickie James. Let me fucking be salty about it. I haven't had an opportunity to even talk about that finish to that match. First and foremost, this whole Mickie James comeback has been up and down from the moment she came back with no entrance, and then that segment took place at the same time as that, and then that whole kind of the uprising on social media of Mickie James, and then she was kind of feuding with Natty and Lana, and then it morphed into Asuka and Mickie, and everyone, well, at least I'll speak for myself, I was just kind of assuming, okay, Mickie and Asuka is going to be the program, and they're going to go to Clash of Champions, they'll have a nice little match, and Asuka will move on. That's how I saw this program. Then it all of a sudden went to Raw, that match happened, and the finish happened, which was later explained, like they thought she was injured, so they kind of ended the match, but you seen the look on Mickey's face. She put her arms out while she was in the hold, like, what in the actual fuck was that? Why did you call that match? I am literally fine. And then Zelina, so they were kind of ushering Mickie out of this story, and it went all of a sudden to Zelina and Asuka. I don't have a problem with Zelina Vega. However, this is probably me overthinking things, but so you're telling me that Zelina Vega, who has been primarily a manager for her entire career, she does wrestle, of course, all of a sudden comes out at the end of a match, says, I want a shot at the championship, then gets to fight Mickie James, and is the number one contender after wrestling one match. I just don't really, if I'm speaking in a logical sense, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But at the same time, it's on the kickoff for a reason, is because out of everything, it's had the least build. So to me, it kind of has its place on the kickoff, and to me, Mags, we'll probably agree here, and we always do for the first match, it's just a surefire win for Asuka and a nice little chance for Zelina to kind of get her feet wet with being a regular wrestler within the division.
Yeah, I can't disagree with a single word you've said. I think I would have liked more build for a Mickie James fight, but again, I didn't want her to lose to Asuka, because I think Mickie deserves at least another run with a title before she hangs up her boots. It's just a way to like I said, dip Zelina Vega's toes in the singles wrestling water, and she'll put on a good show. Asuka will end up winning by submission, and onto the main card we'll go.
Yeah, that's how I see it as well. Zelina worked well with Mickie. I would assume, I could be wrong, Mags, but they would probably have worked in TNA years and years ago. They would have both been there at around the same time, wouldn't they? I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong.
I would have thought so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I would have thought so.
They would have worked at some stage, and I don't know. A lot of people love Mickie James. A lot of people don't really care for Mickie James. I think Mickie is really good at making other people look really good, and she made Zelina look really good on Raw. And I'm not taking away anything from Zelina, because honestly, I like Zelina. I think she is a good worker, and I think with a bit of opportunity and a chance to work with someone like Asuka, I think she could be a lot of fun to see in the ring. And it's fresh. It is fresh. I mean, we have never seen Asuka and Zelina Vega, so but it's to me, it's like probably the most obvious pick on the entire card is like Asuka is retaining the Raw Women's Championship. There's nothing really more to add. It'll be fine. Yeah. I can't imagine this match being a 5-star classic, but it'll be fine.
I'd say pretty much all the women's matches are going to be pretty easy to predict. But yeah, it's going to be an Asuka win.
Yeah. Let's move on to the main card. We'll talk about the Raw Tag Team Championships first, because it feels like we've talked about this match literally every single time we've done a prediction show, Mags. It is Angel Garza and Andrade, now Zelina Vega-less, taking on the Street Profits for the Raw Tag Team Championships. I thought when we seen that match got announced for Raw last week with the triple threat tag that it was going to be Dominic and Humberto Carrillo. I was like, okay, that
would have made sense. It would have absolutely made sense.
I would have been fine with that. But then Angel Garza and Andrade won. I have literally nothing to say on this because you'll probably say more than I do. But to me, if Angel Garza and Andrade don't win, it is completely pointless that they won that tag team championship match after all of these shots at the championship. They have to win. So I'm just going to say my prediction now that Andrade and Angel Garza will win this match and we can move the fuck on.
Yeah, how many times are we going to see this very match? I think it's what 7 times in like 2 months that they fought. Yeah, I am bored to tears of these, and I feel so bad for the Street Profits because they were so hot on NXT. They came up to the main roster, and they've just been lumbered with poor feud after poor feud after poor feud. The whole stuff with the Viking Raiders was horrific. This stuff, whilst it's been good in ring, has just dragged on so much that it's got tedious. I'm going to go with you. I'm going to say Andrade and Garza win because they have split from Zelina Vega, and also because it's not the pre-show match. If it would have been a pre-show, I would have expected the Profits to win. But yeah, we see new champions, I think.
Yeah, the match will be fine. We've seen it 40 times at this stage. I'm just ready for whoever to win so we can move on and just there isn't a lot of depth within the Raw Tag Team division, and my fingers are crossed that we get a draft soon. This rumored draft, I hope it's soon, because we desperately need a bit of a shake-up. Not to use a WWE term, but we desperately need a shake-up within both rosters on so many accounts. The COVID era especially, because it has been the PC era, the COVID era, whatever you want to call it, into the Thunderdome stuff. I feel like we've had a lot more wrestling within these times because there's been less talking and just more wrestling. And I feel like we've run a lot of matches into the ground just because they're just trying to keep legs on the thing for the time being. So I just hope we move on from this program, to be completely honest. We may as well talk about the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, why we're here as well. Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro defending against two members of the Lucha House Party, whoever it is. Why are we teasing tension with the Lucha House Party when there isn't a lot of teams really to dabble within both divisions? It's not like SmackDown is doing so much hotter than Raw within the tag team division. They're teasing a lot of like, oh, they're not getting along and Kalisto's not helping, and all of the standard stuff when you're planting seeds for breaking up a team. I don't know. I don't want to say I don't care, because I do care in the sense of like, these 5 people are all very talented. They're all very talented. The Lucha House Party, all are extremely talented. Shinsuke, Cesaro, we don't need to run down their skill sets because they're both very talented dudes. And I also, I'll just throw in there that I like Shinsuke and Cesaro as a team. They work well with each other. I also like the Lucha House Party as a team, and I don't really see the need to split them.
No, there's been a massive fascination with WWE of splitting tag teams. When there's absolutely no need to, and they actually could do with more tag teams to refreshen the title scenes. Yeah, it's a weird kind of way that WWE are booking recently. I like the team of Shinsuke and Nakamura and Cesaro. I think they're absolutely two talented wrestlers. I think Cesaro's now in that kind of rut of he will be forever known as a tag team wrestler. Now we're not going to, as much as we want to, we're not going to see that singles push of him breaking through to the world title. And Shinsuke, whilst he should have been a world champion when he first came into WWE, he's definitely in that kind of like position where he's you can't see him challenging for the big title in the near future. So yeah, I'd keep these two together as a team. They work really well together. I love the chemistry of them. I'm a big fan of Lucha House Party. I think they're fun. I think they bring a lovely energy to wrestling. They're all incredibly talented. So it's weird that Vince wants to break up this partnership or this trio. But once those seeds are sown, WWE are not like very subtle, so it's very likely that they are going to split. And it's very likely that the split will start tonight. At Clash of Champions. So I fully expect Cesaro and Shinsuke to retain. I expect Kalisto and Dorado to get into it. And and we're going to get some shenanigans and a victory for Shinsuke and Cesaro.
Wow, we're going 3 for 3 this time because I think Shinsuke and that, I think exactly that will happen in some sense. Like they're gonna break
Mm-hmm.
up, or they'll have tension, or something. Someone will accidentally screw the other one by accident, and then they'll all push each other, and the Thunderdome will go crazy. That's just how I kind of see it happening. Shinsuke and
Yeah.
Cesaro will win. It'll be fine.
I think
Cool.
that's the problem with this card, and I think that's why it's kind of flown under the radar, especially compared to like SummerSlam, which we were pretty excited for, and then Payback, which even after a week's build was still quite exciting to get
Yeah.
into. This one I'm not excited for because there's so many matches that are holding patterns that you fully expect that nothing will change coming out of them. Maybe a couple of swerves here and there, perhaps, but yeah, for the majority of it, we're going to agree on a lot of the results, I think.
Yeah, I think we will. There's apart from the couple of matches that I'm genuinely like, oh fuck, this is going to be really good. It is a pretty predictable card. Now, predictability doesn't necessarily mean that it'll be bad. All of the
No,
matches, all of the matches will be fine. I can't really see anything being like bogusly awful. I can't really apart from like what we'll talk about at the end. I can't really see much being like super amazing. It's just a place. It's just like to get to the next spot kind of card. And sometimes that happens when you have 13 pay-per-views, 12, 13 pay-per-views a year. It's bound to happen at some stage. I guess this would be a good time to say that we'll actually be back in a week, everybody, by the way, because there's TakeOver next weekend. So me and Mags will be talking next week again.
Now that's a card we'll be interested in.
So we'll be talking about that this time next week. It is on. It's not Saturday night, is it? It's Sunday night, isn't it? Takeover, so we can do the prediction show at the same time, can't we?
October 4th.
Yeah. So yeah. Also, everybody, I should let you know that Australia's time changes very, very soon. Daylight savings.
UK time.
So it's gonna be all. I'm gonna be all fucked. I'm gonna be like, I don't know what fucking time it is. So just type it in Google. That's how I'm gonna be next week because I believe it's next Sunday morning. My time that changes. I think I go forward an hour. It just confuses me, and then I'll be in that zone for like a month of like, I don't fucking know what time it is anywhere, so just go with me, everybody. So if things are at a little bit of a different time, everybody, just go with it. Anyway, back to this card. We may as well talk about the other tag team championship match that there is with the women's tag team championships. We got Shayna and Nia Jax defending the women's tag team championships against the Riot Squad. To be honest, out of pretty much most things, it's had a pretty good build. It's been pretty standard, but it's had a pretty good build. When we take it back to Payback, when Shayna and Nia actually won the championship from Banks and Bailey, that really inventive finish, by the way, where Shayna kind of had Sasha choke out Bailey. Is that right? Or was it the other way around? No, it was that way around. And then they're kind of tension they've had, you know how it is. Also, I'm not ignoring you, Reese. I didn't even see your comment there. Hello. We're just talking about how like there's been some stuff with the Lucha House Party, so maybe they will push Kalisto separately. He's probably the one he's probably the one with the most like potential, I guess, to get to the next spot.
I really dig Lindsay Dorado the most, I think.
Yeah, I like them all, to be honest. Metalic's the one where I'm like, I can never see you breaking out of a ceiling. But them two would be the toss-up. I think just Kalisto, he's just got more of I don't know, there's a certain appeal to him. Yeah, maybe that.
Yeah.
And there's just a certain like look about him that I'm just like, okay, I see it. But back to the Women's Tag Team Championships. So we've seen the whole stuff with the Riot Squad and the Iconics, and then they, for some fucking reason, broke up the Iconics in a match. But then they're still kind of together because they're friends, and why did you need to break them up? You could have just pushed Peyton if you're going to push Peyton. Even though, by the way, I'll just throw in there that Billy is the more entertaining one of the two. No offense, Peyton. I love you very much. But I think Billy is just...
I think she's also the better wrestler. I mean, I like Peyton, but I think
I like Peyton
get
as
more
well.
Fun out of Billy. Sorry.
I just think Billy is a star, and I think it's going to be that type of thing where it's like, oh, they're pushing Peyton, and then in a year's time, Billy's going to be the one that's really over, and Billy's going to be the one that's kind of, doing, and she's different. She looks different. She has, like, she's I don't mean this in a negative way. She's a different size than the other girls. Like, she just stands out in so many more ways than Peyton. Taking nothing away from Peyton, because I do think Peyton is very good. But anyway, they broke up the Iconics, and then the Riot Squad are now going on to kind of face Nia and Shayna, and we've just been this is kind of funny to me, and I don't give a fuck where it comes from. This is kind of funny. The whole premise of this story has been Nia Jax putting Lana through a table after whoever fought Lana and Natty. Lana and Natty are just kind of like the stepping stones for both of these teams, and then Lana just goes through a table, and it's just fucking hilarious to me. So I don't know why it's so funny, but it will be a fine match, but like there's no real, this is again predictability of this card. There's no reason for you to not have Shayna and Nia win this match. As much as I like the Riot Squad, I think Liv and Ruby now are at the best they've been, and I think they're working together well. They're different than when they were in like the original variation of the Riot Squad. They're very different competitors. They are like, they're good, and I really like Ruby Riot, and obviously Liv Morgan has a ton of potential. We keep saying that over and over again, but like they work well together. They're friends, obviously. But there's just, the Nia Shayna stuff has so much more legs and so much more kind of momentum behind it that it'd be kind of silly just to be like, well, let's just end this. It's like, we need to see where this can go.
Yep, I agree. I think Nia Jax has brought out a side of Shayna that we didn't really get to see a lot of. Shayna on NXT, and then even on her early run on the main roster, was a very cold, calculated kind of animal who would absolutely demolish her opponents. I think teaming with Nia, it's brought out a comedy side of her that she plays off
She's actually
well.
Really funny.
The stuff with R-Truth on my
god, the bump and stuff.
Raw Talk. Is it Raw Talk?
Raw
the
Talk,
bump,
yeah. They've been on both.
It's absolutely brilliant.
Oh, with the sauce and stuff like that, and like like Truth. I feel like, let's talk about Raw Talk and that. I see I don't really watch that every week, but like I watch it here and there. I see clips of it wherever I need to see. I feel like someone backstage has gone, okay, we're putting R-Truth on this show to see who he can break. To see if it's a test for these people to just sit there and be like, if they can just pass the R-Truth test, they can do anything in this company, because R-Truth is hilarious. Anything R-Truth does, it could be the silliest shit, and I'm just howling, because he's just so good at being, he truly doesn't care how he's perceived. He's just there to entertain, and that's like the best way to be. But him and the stuff with him and Shayna, I didn't know Shayna Baszler had that side to her where she's genuinely a funny person, and she's so funny on Twitter because she's just like I'm just surrounded by morons all the time, and she just has this kind of dry, kind of just wittiness to her that I'm just like, you are funny. And it's weird. I know a lot of people don't like Nia Jax, but Nia Jax does have a personality, as much as people don't want to really admit it, because they don't like her because of A, Y, and Z. It doesn't matter. She does have a personality, and she's bringing out the best in Shayna Baszler's personality, which you need. You know, dominance and that kind of character we've seen a lot of in wrestling over the years. It's just that, like, I'm going to beat the crap out of you, and why it does work for a certain duration of time. We've seen that for a long time in NXT. We've seen that for a long time in NXT with Shayna. There's dimensions to characters. It doesn't mean that she's not like that anymore. It just means that she needs to evolve. And Nia's brought that out in her, and R-Truth and all of that. Oh my god, Queen is here. The royalty has arrived. I'm trying to, like, curtsy, but that didn't really work because I'm sitting the fuck down. But yeah, anyway, so Riot Squad and Shayna and Nia are kind of, you know, having this match now, and there's just, we're going to go 4 for 4 on agreement here, because Nia and Shayna, it's just there's no point in having them lose.
The frenemies win.
Yeah. WWE love that shit.
There's no point splitting them up. The frenemies have got to win this. They do need some new challengers coming, being built up. So perhaps if they hold these titles to at least the Rumble, and then we get the chance to kind of really build up some viable challenges to them. But yeah, I'm loving this Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler partnership. They've got a lot of grief on wrestling social media, but I think they both elevating each other.
Yeah.
I'm getting more invested in Nia Jax because of Shayna Baszler. And although I absolutely thought Shayna Baszler was one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, this kind of facet that Nia's bringing out of comedy, yeah, it's making me love her even more. So I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
I think it's a great kind of odd couple setup. Yeah, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's a story we've seen many times. Two people that don't get along, then they get along, and then the end goal here, whether it's in 6 months, 12 months, 2 months, they're gonna fight each other, and that's fine. But like, this is fun for now, and it kind of adds a little bit of another layer to the women's tag team scene. And the Riot Squad will unfortunately come up short in this instance. It's just timing. They'll get their dues, I'm sure, but it is what it is. I'm kind of happy with it. We'll move along here to the United States Championship. Bobby Lashley will take on Apollo Crews again. We've seen these matches, whether it's MVP or anything like that. I'm pretty certain every single prediction show we've done that isn't NXT has been this variation of MVP versus Apollo Crews or Bobby Lashley versus Apollo Crews. Just this whole thing. I think this is just the stamp on it to kind of end this. Bobby Lashley will win, and that will be the end that will hopefully be the end of Bobby Lashley versus Apollo Crews. There's just no life in this match anymore, is there?
It's how many times have we sat here predicting that this is the end of Apollo Crews' push,
Yeah.
and and it's still going. It's still absolutely going. I don't know if I agree with you that we'll get a definitive finish. I think this may be one of the two incidents where Retribution could get involved. Like I said, they're having kind of beef with the Hurt Business. Them getting involved would kind of still end the feud, but also leave Crews looking strong enough that he doesn't drop down the card too much. And then we build to a Retribution versus Hurt Business kind of battle. But I don't see Crews winning the title back. Bobby Lashley, he looks good with that US title. Like I said earlier, I'm more invested in Bobby Lashley than I have ever been before because of MVP. But yeah, I'll be just happy to see the end of this Hurt Business versus Apollo Crews storyline and both go on to something bigger and better.
Yeah, it is. It needs to end. Queen said it best. It would have popped up on the screen when you were talking, Mags. It just said, and I quote, "Lord, I hope so. It needs to be the end of this story." And that's just exactly my thoughts as well. Bobby Lashley needs to win, and we need to move on to somebody else, whoever that may be. I'm sure it'll be fine. We've just seen it enough. Let's talk about Let's talk about the SmackDown Women's Championship. Bayley will be defending against Nikki Cross. I seen something come up on Twitter today that there's some kind of report that maybe Nikki Cross isn't available for this show. We won't speculate too hard on that. I don't know. I don't really read too many dirt sheets. I seen it pop up on Twitter. I don't know if we need to believe that or not. But for what it is, this is the match that we're getting at the moment, is Bayley versus Nikki Cross. Now, I have opinions on this. For many different reasons. I know the first kind of natural reaction to this is Bayley versus Nikki Cross again. We've seen this match a lot in Bayley's over 300 days as SmackDown Women's Champion. We've seen a lot of this match, and we've kind of seen the same result. Bayley comes out on top. I get it. I understand it. But in the midst of everything that's going on and the really great stuff that Bayley and Sasha have done in the last, even just the last few months, if we talk back to when they were a team, and then the turn, and then the great Bayley promos that have come out, the great Sasha promos that have come out with the beatdown, everything, just everything that's been happening has been so golden with those two. Golden role models. Haha, I know, I'm fucking genius. They've just been so, they've been so good. And then kind of Nikki is just kind of, unfortunately for Nikki Cross, she is that just kind of person that's wrong place, wrong time.
A placeholder.
Bayley needs to defend her championship because it's Clash of Champions. It's the one night of the year where every championship gets defended. So therefore, Bayley needs to defend this championship. We don't want to run Sasha and Bayley yet. So we just need someone that it's not going to really hurt too much if they take a loss. A lot of people were saying, well, Naomi's out. Naomi had some kind of surgery in the last 3 weeks, so that's why she wasn't in this spot, I guess.
Mhm.
But even if you take the stuff that's going on, a lot of people are like, why isn't Alexa Bliss in this role? She's really white hot right now. It's like, because you don't want Bliss to take a loss here. Bliss is hot at the moment.
Mhm.
Bliss has got a lot of momentum
Yep.
behind her with the stuff with the Fiend. By the way, Mags, that stuff has been really good. Alexa Bliss is so good at that character and so good at switching that on. It's rejuvenating Alexa Bliss, who was kind of just floating. Alexa's talking to me. Shut up, Alexa.
Yeah.
Bliss was just kind of floating around and not really doing a lot. I know she turned on. I was like, shut up, please. But she was just kind of, floating along, and she's kind of turned that on, and it's just oddly perfect, and it's oddly working. A lot of people are like, why isn't Alexa Bliss in this role? It's like, so you want Bliss to take a clean loss, or even just a cheap loss, to Bayley, who is also white hot at the moment. It's like, I would rather sacrifice somebody like Nikki Cross, who can build that back up, than take away someone like Alexa Bliss, who is white hot, who doesn't need to be involved in this story, unless it's, directly involved with Nikki Cross, and they can kind of advance what they need to do. But obviously we weren't running Sasha and Bayley at Clash of Champions. That's probably Hell in a Cell. That's what I would assume. I'd like to see it stretched out further. We had that conversation back on the SummerSlam show of like, I'd like to see this stretched out to WrestleMania. I don't think we're going to do that. I think it's going to be probably more so the main event of Hell in a Cell next month. That's just my opinion. But we could stretch it out.
I still think.
Do you reckon they'll stretch it
out?
I would like them to.
Yeah.
I would really like them to. It's been this story between Sasha and Bayley has been, I think it's been perfectly done. Every single layer to this story has just been expertly done. It's just so good.
The story itself deserves a Mania match. It's as simple and clear. That has been the very best storyline of WWE's pandemic era. And the fact that it rolls back so many years, going back to the Iron Woman match on NXT, you don't end this on a B-level pay-per-view. It's as simple as that. This is
is how I see it, Mags. Sorry to interrupt. Okay, I want it stretched out to Mania. I'm on that train. However, would you like to see this match get a lot of time, potentially in the main event of Hell in a Cell, for example? I'm not saying it will be at Hell in a Cell. Or would you like to see it kind of potentially be a little bit floundered and a little bit less time on a show like WrestleMania? Sometimes it's probably apples and oranges. I get it. But, there's pros, and I would prefer it at WrestleMania, because even a quote-unquote shorter, worse-off match is still a better match and bigger because it's on WrestleMania than on Hell in a Cell. But if we want pure better wrestling, I feel like it'd be better to put it on a show with 8-9 matches than a show with 14, 15 matches on it, or however many they do at WrestleMania. I hope, like Queen said in the chat, keep them apart but still relevant, then boom, Mania moment. I personally, this is how I would do it. I said this on the last show, is that I would draft them to separate rosters. Keep Bayley on SmackDown, draft Sasha to Raw. Sasha can win the Rumble. It would be literally Sasha's like, oh my god, I got split up from Bayley. I just want to get my hands on Bayley. And then from October to January is Sasha's like, get to the Rumble. I need to win the Royal Rumble. I need to make it special. Win the Royal Rumble and choose Bayley. They could main event WrestleMania, in my opinion. But it's just, will they do it? Because this story is very hot right now. So sometimes I think, and this isn't a fault of WWE, it isn't. It's like, we want to capitalize on that. Sasha Banks is also going to be in The Mandalorian. To me, in a business sense, they would want Sasha Banks as SmackDown Women's Champion while she's in The Mandalorian that comes out at the end of October, so they can promote WWE Champion Sasha Banks is in this show that's starring on Disney Plus, so they can get more people to kind of pay attention to their product. So businessly, that's why I'm kind of thinking Sasha's going to win the title sooner rather than later. But I'm on the train of like I hope they stretch this out to Mania. But regardless of anything, Bailey is retaining the SmackDown Women's Championship at Clash of Champions with Nikki Cross.
After all that tangent booking WWE for the next 6 months, yeah, Bailey wins this, and I'm like you. I feel kind of sorry for Nikki Cross because I think in this era she's added a lot of depth to her character.
She has,
and the stuff with Alexa Bliss, it's brilliant. But I think this is another holding pattern style booking. I think we're going to get a definitive win. I don't think there's going to be any shenanigans. I think we're going to rebuild Bailey back to being
like a dominant heel.
Better than everyone style bitch wrestler, and then that's going to lead to the Sasha Banks.
Bailey needs like to be honest, I don't like this because I like Nikki Cross, but I hope Bailey destroys Nikki Cross because Bailey needs to be this like you can't beat me heel. So then when Sasha does win, it's huge, and I want Bailey to be this dominant. I know you've had your opinions on heel Bailey. I've had my opinions, and it's where we're probably the most different is that I absolutely think that Bailey is a fantastic heel, and you've been a little so-and-so with Bailey as a heel. But the last few weeks...
I mean, she's grown on me. She has
the last
grown
few
on me.
weeks, it's been real... Like, she's been cutting in really good promos, and she's been doing really good work. Like, obviously, when you're probably working with your best friend, it probably does help that you have some kind of motivation to make this as good as you can. But I just think people sleep on Bailey more than they should. But I just want Bailey to be like a dominant, destructive, like, I am the best. I have held this championship for 300 plus days because I am the best. I'm better than Sasha Banks. And I don't think like a back and forth competitive match with Nikki Cross is the best way to really solidify that. But I guess we'll see what happens. But we're both in agreement. Bailey's going to win.
And dominantly.
I hope so. All right. Let's talk about the triple threat ladder match because I'm sure it'll be fucking wild. We got Jeff Hardy, the Intercontinental Champion, Sami Zayn, the real Intercontinental Champion, and AJ Styles, who claims that Jeff Hardy is a cheater and should be the Intercontinental Champion. So there's going to be 2 championships hanging above. They're going to have a triple threat ladder match, and it is going to be... I mean, it's a ladder match with those 3 people in it. It's really not... It just won't be bad. There's no other way to put it. It's going to be a shitstorm in a good way. Obviously, Hardy is
it's going to be the match on the card.
Oh,
this is the best match on the card.
Easily. It's okay. Let's argue about this. We probably won't. But is Sami Zayn the real Intercontinental Champion, or are you in the agreement of like he went away, so therefore he should vacate that championship? Where are you in kayfabe world with this, Mags?
In kayfabe and real world, Sami Zayn is the Intercontinental Champion.
My dude, that's why I invited you here. That's right. He is the real Intercontinental Champion.
He left WWE with permission when they said that anybody who wasn't feeling comfortable in this situation to go away and you will not get punished in terms of storyline. And then they fucking punished him by stripping him of the title. I think this is a brilliant storyline. I love these kind of like I'm the champion, no, I'm the champion stuff. It really harkens back to Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels. I want Sami Zayn with all my heart to win this match. He is the real world's Intercontinental Champion.
Dude,
And
he looks homeless.
I won't hear anything otherwise.
He's the real Intercontinental Champion in my opinion as well. He is in a kayfabe world. There's no reason why he isn't the Intercontinental Champion because he was never beat for that championship, so therefore he is the real Intercontinental Champion. That's how I see it. To be fair, I love all 3 of these people. There's no way I can hate Jeff Hardy because he's Jeff Hardy. There's no way I can hate Sami Zayn because he looks the way he does with that hair and that beard, and he just looks like he's going to ask me for some change, and I'm just into it. And AJ Styles is AJ Styles. How can you hate AJ Styles? He's a fantastic wrestler. You put these 3 in the ring in a ladder match, it's a recipe for success. There's no really other way to go about it. They all have a claim to be Intercontinental Champion, like I stated at the start. To be completely fair, Mags, I have my preference of who I want to win, and that's Sami Zayn. But if any one of these won, I would just be like, I'm fine with this. I like them all. Let's continue this. I've been really into this. SmackDown has been kind of firing on all cylinders in 95% of all their stories. This is one of them. It's like you said, that classic, I'm the Intercontinental, no, I'm the, Sean and Razor, all of that kind of stuff. We've seen it before. Added in the element of a third person in there because Jeff Hardy's a dirty cheat, as AJ Styles would say. There's just no way that you can't be into this. If you're not into this, maybe perhaps you shouldn't be really watching wrestling because it's just standard wrestling.
I agree. I mean, for me, I would be happy with any victory like you, but I think AJ, this is a level down from him. I always see him as someone who should be in the main title scene. So him really wanting this mid card title kind of doesn't really make that much sense to me. But Sami and Jeff absolutely should continue this feud after this match, no matter which one of those two wins, because they can create absolute magic in the ring. I don't think Sami Zayn's really got his due on the main roster of WWE. Maybe it's because of his political leanings and things like that. Who's to say? But this storyline absolutely works for me. I love the champion versus champion thing. Jeff Hardy, I'm loving the fact that he's signed a new long-term deal. That when we get fans back, he's going to be returning to his No More Words theme music, and just the kind of redemption that he needs. He needs a redemption after like quite a few years of falling off the wagon and really kind of letting himself down. I think this kind of push for Jeff Hardy, hopefully to at least one last run with a main title before he hangs it up. But yeah, I love everything about the story. I love everything about this match. It's going to be the best match on the card by a long way.
Ladder matches are my favorite stipulation. They always have been. They probably always will be. Or like ladder, TLC, whatever. They're kind of the same vein to me. But it's Jeff Hardy in a ladder match for one. He's still. Say what you will about Jeff Hardy, he's probably is a step behind even his own self from 10 years ago, whatever, but it's still a ladder match and he's still going to jump off a ladder at some stage to do something silly, so, I'm fine with that. And then Sami and AJ are the ones to kind of keep the flow and the pace of this match kind of high. That's how I kind of see it. It's a triple threat ladder match. I mean, again, there's really no way it can be. Even a bad ladder match is still a good ladder. You know what I mean? It's still a good match. So, it'll be good, and it will probably kick off the show after the kickoff, of course. It'll probably go on first, and it will set the tone kind of fairly high. Nothing will probably be as good, with the exception of one thing, which we'll talk about in a minute. But it'll be good. For me personally, I want Sami Zayn to win, but I think Jeff Hardy's going to be the one to win here. What are you going with?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Sami Zayn. I think he's the one who should come out of this storyline with the title, especially if you're going to extend the Jeff Hardy versus Sami Zayn story. If Jeff wins, it kind of like stunts Sami's claim as the champion. But any one of these winning would be great because they all would elevate the title anyway. So, but I want Sami Zayn to win.
I want Sami to win as well, but I'm just going Jeff Hardy. There's something coming over me. I'm like, I think Jeff's going to win. He's the only face out of the three. There's something to me that I'm just like, I don't know. There's something to do with Jeff that's not mad either way, though. It'll be really, really fun. Let's talk about Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton in an ambulance match. I don't care for ambulance matches. I don't care for them. I just, they're nothing to me. I don't know what to say because I was convinced at SummerSlam that Randy Orton was going to win the championship. I was convinced that was going to happen. Then Keith Lee kind of came into the picture, and we've seen Keith kind of involved in this story throughout with Drew and Randy. We've seen punts, we've seen claymores, we've seen dislocated jaws or whatever it was that kind of took out Drew and Randy and all of this kind of stuff. The story is to me kind of, I feel like we're nearing the end of this story in terms of like how much more what can we do with Drew and Randy? I don't know. Ambulance matches are kind of would you agree that they're pretty limited? To
Yeah,
me, there's no false
I
finish. Like, it
understand what
takes
you're
away
saying.
that kind of, when you're watching a match, like even a ladder match in that, the ladder match kind of climbing, it's like that's the false finish of now someone gets there. I understand what you're going to say is like, oh, you're going to put him in, but like, to me, there's nothing more, like, that's not cool to me to see someone nearly go in an ambulance. There's no sense of, like, urgency. It's like, beat them up, get them to an ambulance, put them in there, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, I mean, I struggle to remember an ambulance match that I thought was a good match.
I'm trying to think
I
of
understand
any.
that, but yeah, but with the kind of history of this storyline with Drew's dislocated jaw and the concussion stuff like that, the ambulance makes sense because of how many times they've had to go to medical facilities,
Yeah.
and I think with an ambulance match, the loser doesn't look weak in losing. It's
No.
kind of like you have to be beat to within an inch of your life, and if you can take that kind of punishment and go on to lose, you don't look as bad as if
No,
you've
you
been
don't.
pinned 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring.
You don't.
So I understand the reasoning behind it. I don't think it's going to be exactly the best match on the card, but this. And we've predicted it so many times for it to happen, but I think this is when Drew drops the belt.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like an
Yeah,
ambulance match. He doesn't have to take the fall. Randy's going to win. And Drew will get another moment when we get out of this kind of era, I feel. I think
yeah.
Drew will get his like, fan moment where it's like, well, Drew won. He didn't really get that, which sucks for him. But there's no reason to me why Randy has been as good as he's been in the last 6-7 months for him not to have another championship reign. I wouldn't be mad at it. I wouldn't be mad if Drew won, but I just feel like if Drew wins, it's like, there's more for me in the sense of like, if Drew loses, there's more to do with Drew than if Randy loses, because it's kind of like, well, okay, Randy's back to square one, I guess. When Drew, it's like, who does he work with next? There's more for Randy to do, and I feel like, Mags, we're gonna get Randy Edge again, and I wouldn't personally hate to see Edge as world champion one more time.
Yeah, it
So
makes all the sense in the world. Drew has run out of challengers. Maybe a storyline where he gets him and Keith Lee, who's been hinting at like kind of like a heel side to Keith Lee. That'd be an interesting feud. Randy going on against Edge, which you can't really go wrong with a Randy and Edge match. Edge getting the kind of like the marquee moment of being the world champion again. Everybody will be crying. It's just a great way to kind of separate Drew from the title picture, just to have him come back later on and get that moment that he really did deserve. After Raw this weekend, though, I feel that we may have Retribution being involved in this match as well, because obviously there was the massive schmoz. Retribution getting involved with the
locker
Drew
room, the whole locker
pretty
room.
much. So I don't think we're going to be limited to one kind of interference by Retribution. I think they're going to come and they're going to maybe get involved in this match and cause Drew to lose, which again adds to the fact that Drew will stay strong in defeat. But I think Randy walks out as world champion.
Retribution should attack Drew McIntyre with their Twitter accounts. He'll have no chance. He'll be done.
Hit him with a slapjack.
Well. Let's not go there. It's that would be on a different website, guys. I'll leave it in. I'll leave it in my bio. It's a little hub of stuff. But it's it is what it is. I'm not mad at it. If Randy wins, Randy can go on and do other things and be a heel champ. We've said this many times. Heel champions are better. So I'm going with Randy as well. We've only been different on one thing. So that's kind of crazy that we've only been that's saying something about this show, because we're always different on so many things. But
it makes sense for the show because, like we said, it's a holding pattern show.
Yeah, it is what it is. All right, let's talk about the main event. One, Roman Reigns defending the Universal Championship against... Now, to put this out there, for whoever's watching this on the VOD or even just between you and me, Mags, this is going to just be 2020 in a sentence. The challenger for the Universal Championship is Jey Uso. And it's no disrespect to Jey, but that is like the craziest thing to hear in 2020 is that. So my sister doesn't really, she kind of watches wrestling still, but like taps in here and again. Like she'll watch the big shows with me, but she doesn't really watch week to week. She doesn't really keep up with it. I Snapchatted her when Jey Uso won the number one contenders match, and she just literally wrote back, "What the fuck?" And I was like, well, that kind of sums it up. Is like, she's like, wait, what? Like Jey Uso? And I'm like, yeah, Jey Uso's going to fight Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship in what I would assume, Mags, will probably be the main event. I just don't think there's anything more deserving to go on last in this match. Okay, so Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, the whole stuff that's been going on since SummerSlam and then Payback happening and him winning the Universal Championship, Roman Reigns has just been... This is the Roman that a lot of people have been screaming for so long. Of course, there's still going to be people that complaining, blah, blah, blah. I blocked that shit out. Roman Reigns has been very, 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 very good. He's been almost damn untouchable in this last 3 or 4 weeks since returning. And he's clearly, to me at least, he is clearly a step above everybody else in the whole company. He is a step above, and he's been saying things in interviews and stuff like that, like, I am the top of this company for a reason, because I'm very consistent in what I do. He said he's the most consistent performer of the last, however many years. It's hard to argue, because Roman Reigns, for one, we've said many times, Mags, whether we liked his character or not, he's very good in the ring, and there's a reason why so many people are like, I want to work with Roman Reigns, because he's very good. That dude doesn't have bad matches. There's a handful of matches that you could name that you'd be like, oh, this was a bad Roman Reigns match. Like, it's very hard to come across like a just straight up bad Roman Reigns match. Character-wise, he's been, again, untouchable in these last 4 weeks. And him and Paul Heyman bounced off each other so well. This stuff with Jey Uso. If you can make Jey Uso... I understand there's family and stuff here involved in this story, but if you can make Jey Uso look like a credible title contender, again, no disrespect to Jey, it's like, you are something else. You are something else if you're making us invested in Jey Uso to the point where we're like, we're in this mindset, Max. I can almost talk for you in this sense of like, oh, Jey Uso's not going to win, but like, imagine if he did. Imagine if he beat Roman Reigns. Like, we're worked in that sense of like, the promos that Jey Uso have been cutting, and especially this one on SmackDown this week, have been phenomenal.
Wow.
I was watching, and I was just like in it, and I was just like, I'm not thinking about it. I'm just like, this is a fucking good promo. Like, it's just a good promo, and I'm like, Jey Uso is showing up, and it's like, okay, maybe my name doesn't really pop into someone's head as Universal Champion, but like, I'm going to make you believe that I am going to win the Universal Championship at Clash of Champions. Like, there is something within me that's like, every time, like, I'm like, Roman's going to win, Roman's going to win, Roman's going to win. But there's this little part of me that's just like, what about if Jey Uso gets this? And it's we're being worked, and I'm being worked, and I don't care. Hello, Roman, by the way. Thank you for stopping in. Mags, are you being worked in that sense of like, just that little part of you that's like living in fantasy of like, Jey Uso could do this?
It's a possibility. I mean, anything's a possibility in wrestling, but like you, I love the build of this. I think this has been such a great storyline. Jey, obviously, so well known for being a tag team and not really got a character of his own. I think this feud with Roman has really shown that he can work a crowd. He can show passion, and you can get invested in Jey Uso. Do I think he's going to win the title? Absolutely not. Roman has been off the chain, head and shoulders above everybody else in terms of this heel turn. It's been glorious. It's been what the fan base has been crying out for, and you can see that if you just let Roman do what he knows he can do, you don't get the kind of cheesy like force down our throat Roman. You get a Roman that you can invest in, and I'm 100% invested in this Roman. I think he's doing his very best work. the promos from Jay, especially the one on Friday, my God, my hairs was standing on end
Yeah.
watching that promo.
I had goosebumps. I was like, holy shit! Like this is, it's hard. We say this a lot, Mags. I know I do. It's hard for us to get that invested in something because we see so many promos, we see so many wrestling matches. We're just kind of like, okay, it's all kind of the standard formula, but there's something always that grabs us, and it's just like, wow, like he is taking this opportunity and he's not letting go of it. Like he's not just letting it kind of slide by. The match itself is going to be very interesting because I can see it going one of two ways. It could go the complete domination route of Roman just destroying to make him just look like a vicious, vile heel that we know that he can be and that he is being, and it could just go down that route. Or we're gonna have something like, the only way I can explain it is like Kofi Bryan kind of moment of like Jey Uso nearly wins and Roman nearly gets beat and then Roman ends up winning. You know, that kind of stuff. That's the two ways I can kind of see it going. And I'm kind of leaning more towards a competitive match than a domination kind of match. But regardless, Roman's going to win. I understand that. But there is a part of me that wish we were in front of 30,000 people in an arena so we could hear this crowd go fucking nuts for Jey Uso hitting a Samoan splash and Roman is by the way, Roman Reigns is fantastic at kicking out, like right at the last second, like that last little millisecond, and he's perfect at that. Just that moment would have been so cool to kind of see with a crowd. But it is what it is. What are we going to do? We cannot control COVID-19, unfortunately. I'll just quickly, before I let you go on what you're going to say. Ron said something about, have you seen the poster on BT Sports WWE's Instagram that has Drew, Shayna, and Nia and Bailey, Lashley, all without their championships, but everyone else has theirs? So that is weird. Maybe it's just like a graphic.
Yeah.
Sometimes that kind of happens, but that is interesting.
They are known for kind of like trying to swerve on social media.
Oh yeah. All right. I've said my kind of piece with what I want to say about that. You probably have something to say about the match itself.
Yeah. I'm like you. I'm in kind of two different camps of what I think may happen. I think one, and probably the most likely, is that we see a Roman Reigns absolutely decimating Jey Uso. That we see a side of Roman that we've never seen before, kind of evil, vindictive side, perhaps even to the kind of like levels that we saw with Brock and Orton, where Brock just absolutely just pounded the living snot out of him. But and this is now becoming a bit of a trademark of these shows. I have a theory.
All right, everybody, buckle up. Whether you're here in the chat or you're watching this on the VOD, everyone knows how I am with Mags and his theories because he always tries to work me into it, and I just have now just gone to the point where I'm like, I'm not fucking listening because he's always wrong. He's always fucking wrong. So I shouldn't listen. But you watch him work his magic, and I'll be like, whatever, I believe you. Go on, go with your conspiracy.
Okay, so if you look back at the kind of build to this feud, there's been some amazing video packages with the Anoa'i family. Just some of the best kind of promos that WWE have put on for a long, long time. Then you've got the fact that Roman and Jey Uso are cousins, real life cousins, not kayfabe. And then you throw Paul Heyman in the mix, who is known primarily from ECW, but also as a manager. And he managed a team called the Samoan Dynasty.
Advocate. He's not a manager. He's an advocate.
Well, he is an advocate now, but he was a manager. But he managed a group called the Samoan Dynasty, which was primarily filled with Anoa'i family members. Now, I can't shake this feeling that we're going to get a swerve of the most swervy dimensions ever. I think we may get a finger poke of doom style swerve.
Oh, so you think Jay's just going to lay down and there'll be like a faction when Jimmy comes back, they'll all be together?
Correct. I think we're going to get a Samoan Dynasty. We're showing on Raw that factions are now becoming a thing. Vince is kind of like building multiple member groups. it will be a perfect time for to kind of revisit Paul Heyman's history with the Samoan dynasty, bringing both the Usos with Roman. Hopefully, maybe bringing another one of their relations in Jacob Fatu from MLW, who's an absolute monster, and you've got the core then for a brilliant kind of Samoan based faction there. So that is
Chuck
a
in Tamina?
slight
I don't
possibility.
know. I'm just throwing out names here, but that could work.
Chuck out Tamina, but
Great. Awesome. Good chat. Okay.
but no,
They have been
I
talking about that a lot. Paul Heyman, I watched the bump. I know I'm probably their only viewer, but I watched the bump this week, and Paul was talking about his history with that, and I don't know. I don't. Fuck you, because you're gonna make me work into this damn theory, and I'm gonna go yeah, and then I'm gonna look like an idiot when it doesn't work out again.
it's probably not going to happen. None of the mad batshit theories that I have usually happen, but
Fuck.
it's there. It's a kind of like a tick underneath your skin that just itches and kind of gnaws away at you. And if it happens, you'll be like, he was right. He was fucking right again.
No.
Why is he right
No.
all the time?
If I say no and this actually happens, I'll never ever in my life hear the end of it from you. You will constantly be like, remember that one time you didn't go with what I said and it happened? I can't. I just can't. I just can't. I can't do it. So I'm not gonna get sucked into this one. But it would be interesting to see, because I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. That kind of, that kind of swerve level. I know. Oh, imagine the internet, Mags. I'd be like, fuck this is stupid. But I'd be here for it. I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I'm just not. I'm not gonna.
I think
it.
we're going to get a Roman Reigns absolutely beating down Jey Uso, but there's just that little, like maybe 1%, 2% that we could get a WCW style swerve, and we end with loads of fake trash being thrown in the ring
from
from
the
people
Thunderdome.
from the Thunderdome.
They throw in fucking, I don't know. What do you use on a computer? USB cables or something like that? You know what's really funny to me, by the way, is that they still freaking do the crowd shots, and it's just like a pixelated mess on the screen because like they're zooming in on the Thunderdome like LED panels, and it's just funny to me how they zoom like into it, and I'm just like, oh man, that's Kevin Dunn for you. He's just like, yeah, that looks good. Like that. Let's show that.
What I would say to anyone who gets to go on Thunderdome, on Raw or SmackDown, get a decent webcam, because some of those webcams are horrific.
Like, use your phone. Your phone has a good camera in it for the most part. Just use your phone. Like, I have an issue with the Thunderdome, by the way. I was all signed up. I had to stay up late because it's like 1:30 in the morning when the registrations are here, and I happened to be up, and I was like, I'll register for Raw. I was like, cool. I'll go and sit in the Thunderdome. I was in there waiting in. They said, yep, you'll come up with a screen that said like, you'll be placed into the Thunderdome. You're in the queue. And I'm like, oh, cool. So I waited for like a solid half an hour, and I'm like, oh, it's still saying that. People are saying, refresh your screen. I'm like, it says not to refresh. They're like, no, just refresh your screen because like it like jumps you up in the queue or some shit like that. So I did that, and then it'll come up with the Thunderdome is full, and then it would put me back in the queue, and then it was the Thunderdome is full, and then it loaded to say that I was going into the Thunderdome, and then the website just crashed, and I was like,
oh,
what
wow.
the fuck? It just doesn't want me to go in the Thunderdome, so I'm just not applying for it anymore because it's like stupid the way they've set this up and like the way they kind of queue in and stuff like that. I'm like, are you kidding? The website's just gonna crash on me when I went into it. But I have so I just don't. I'm sorry, Thunderdome, but you don't apparently like me. I was good though, because as I was loading in, the match that was happening was where Billy and Peyton were fighting, and I'm like, oh, you probably don't want me on the screen when that's going down. I would have been like, just like throwing like freaking double birds at everyone, like, fuck this shit. I would have been pissed. So it's probably a good thing. Maybe they knew that. Maybe they're like, oh, this Josh kid. We don't want him there. Overall, Mags, the show will be fine. It'll be a fairly predictable show. The ladder match is what I'm kind of sold on. That's like, I'm here for the ladder match. To be completely honest, that will be really good. And it's probably out of everything, Mags, the hardest to pick in the sense of like
Yeah.
who's actually going to win, because I can see it
But,
going all
but there's
three of
no
it.
real loser in it as well.
Yeah.
You'd be happy with any one of them
Yep.
winning.
Yep. There's no sense of like, oh, I really don't want this person to win. There's not a sense of that in pretty much all of the matches. Like, I wouldn't be pissed if nearly any one of these, with maybe the exception of like Apollo Crews, because I'm like, I really don't want to see that again. But like, I wouldn't be like angry. You know what I mean? Like, there's no one that I'm like, oh, they really shouldn't win. It's like, whatever.
Yeah, Zelina Vega.
Oh, maybe
I'd be
Zelina.
angry if she won.
I wouldn't be. I like Asuka as well. I know you love Asuka too. So, there's no. It should be Mickey James in this spot anyway. Zelina. What the fuck? But whatever.
James will get her chance.
I just want. I don't know what it is about Mickey Mags that I've just come around to in the last like whatever amount of time. Like in the last like few years. Like I liked Mickey James when she was like, you know, in her peak, like when she first came in there. I remember liking her, but like there's something about her that like I think as I've gotten older, I've appreciated wrestling in a different sense, and I'm like, I just think she's very good at it. I don't know.
Absolutely is. And when she came back to
yeah.
WWE, she was kind of brought in as like someone who the younger wrestlers could learn under.
Mhm.
So it would make sense for her to have at least one run
Just one
as
more.
champion. She deserves it. But it's just clearly not happening at Clash of Champions.
No, it's not. And I just Asuka would. I don't know. No offense to Zelina, but Asuka and Mickey would probably be better than Zelina and Asuka. No offense. And I just feel like I could be a little bit more invested in it.
Yeah.
But whatever. I'm not going to complain too much because it is what it is. But overall, it'll be a fine show. We hope everyone enjoys it, all that kind of stuff. We're going to be back in a week to talk about NXT, which I'm sure we're going to spend about 3.5 hours talking about Kyle O'Reilly going for the fucking title.
God. When that happened, I was in love. I absolutely it was just a brilliant thing. But I'm not going to go into it now. We might as well save that for next week's for the love fest.
Yeah. I'll let you all know the exact time because of time changes and everything like that. So if you're watching this on the VOD and you're like, what time is it going to be? I don't really know yet because I get really confused when time changes because everyone changes times at different areas of the year. I don't think
ours is at the end of October.
Ours is next week. This time next week will be the first day of daylight savings time. Like we go forward an hour. So I'll have to it'll just be all messed up. So just go with me. But we'll talk about NXT TakeOver and all the stuff that will come, and I'm sure we'll have a chat about what happens on this show. Clash of Champions, because who knows? It could be a fucking shitstorm. Who really knows? We never really know with pay-per-views these days. So, until then, we'll see you on the next one, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.